very happy tonight to close out the summer lecture series with a former student of mine from the New York Film Academy, Maha Al-Salker. I'm very happy that she was able to join us from Kuwait for this very special lecture tonight. It's really a joy to have relationships with artists that track from student days, take note, all the way through to actually collaborating on a book, which Maha will talk a little bit about, and then inviting her to join us today in person. So really feel great about this kind of full circle, long-term relationships that we're building, and in general hoping to build with all of you guys in this community. So thanks for joining us, and thanks Maha for being here. I'm going to read Maha's bio to kick it off. It's a little bit long, but I want you guys to hear it all because I think it's important. She's trekked all the way out here, and I'm very excited. Maha Al-Salker is a multidisciplinary artist whose working mediums include photography, performance, textiles, and natural dyes. Through her artwork, Maha tries to gain a deeper understanding of herself while attempting to engage issues of culture and identity. Her curiosity centers around how a woman's upbringing affects identity and self-worth. Maha's projects have been displayed in numerous exhibitions in New York City, London, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. She's been featured in magazines such as Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, Marie Claire, and Rolling Stone. In 2019, Daylight was very proud to publish Maha's first book called Women of Kuwait, which has since been acquired by the Getty Research Institute and the Thomas J. Watson Library at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And now, without further ado, Maha Al-Salker.
So today, when I did this presentation, I think I changed it a couple of times. I wasn't sure where and what to start with, but then I have this kind of question because like how the land that you are in can impact you. So I started my art career in the States. I had a different life before I decided to be an artist. I studied industrial engineering, investment. I worked in investment for 10 years. But I knew that it wasn't, like I was good at it, but I didn't like it. Like I was always in the wrong place. I say the wrong things. I wear the wrong things. I was always the awkward one. So to make it better, I did MBA because maybe I can figure out something. But I learned that I shouldn't study anything just because I'm good at school and I enjoy it. And then I moved to the States in 2013. I went to International Center of Photography, and it was like the hardest school I ever been to because they want me to be intimate. They want me to go inside and go to places that I even didn't think about. And it's literally was the hardest school I ever been, but I like it. And I lived here for 6 years, and through that I found my voice. Before I used to have this kind of like, I always feel shocked, like I couldn't speak up. I always being the good girl. I did everything right. I wanted to impress my society. And that was hard. But then through the art, I managed to express myself. So New York changed me, and in a good way. The first work I wanted to talk about is Women of Kuwait. And this work is a bit different than the work that I used to do like in 2013. My work is mostly about self-portraits in a studio, but this work is like photographing like the other women. And I did this work, this work was a response to a situation I had, like in any social gathering in here, people, once they talk to me, I was like, oh, you have a cute accent, where are you from? I'm from Kuwait. And the conversation started with all the questions like, oh, so do you cover your hair? Do you drive a car? How's work? So I started to be like tourist guide, speak about Kuwait and talk about women and men. I mean, at the beginning it was fun, but then, you know, I'm just like, can I just grab a beer and talk about the weather? And I flipped at a guy who I went back and said, sorry. I told him, just Google it. I don't want to just speak about that. And then I decided to do something about it. So I'm a visual artist, so what do I want to do? So I decided to take pictures of women inside their bedrooms. Why bedrooms? Because the way how we live in Kuwait, we live all as a community, like the whole family live in a one house, and the houses is like 2-3 levels. But like as generous as we are also like our privacy. So basically the way is like we have 2 living rooms. So like this is like a ground floor for a house where you can see that 2/3 of the first floor is like for guests who like in our home might come only 3 times a year or something, and then there's the living room and then the bedroom. So by doing this project, I'm not challenging only these women, I'm also challenging their families, because like they will let me go inside the rooms and enter through these private spaces to take a portrait of them, kind of like opening the window for you guys to look at something you don't see. I personally only went to my friends' bedrooms, like not everybody. So what I wanted to do is create this portrait inside a very intimate space. And because I met all these women in their bedrooms, the conversation was very intimate. So I did this project from 2015 till 2018. Every time I visit Kuwait, I will announce it on my social media, and then I ask for people to like volunteer and allow me to go in. And the personal space start to be like give you some sort of clue if someone has a baby, if someone is like very colorful. And because I was using also the Hasselblad camera, what happened is there's nothing here. I'm not covering my face. The camera is here. I'm looking at them. So there is a different kind of intimacy. And because of this camera is super slow, and I was working in new houses that I never been in. I need to figure out the light situation. So there was like a lot of a conversation that happened between us. They shared divorce, they shared death of the parents, they shared like crisis in work. And I felt like very like privileged to live and have this kind of connection with a woman I never met before. And when I was doing this project, I didn't know where to stop and why I'm doing it. I just know that I want to do it. And I think it's just like when time comes, it's just I figure out that I am already there. And after I finished the project, I had a solo exhibition here in Brooklyn. And when I was doing the tour, I noticed that people were very interested in the stories that I've been telling them, because I do know a little bit about each woman. And someone, I think, asked me what's next, and I don't know. It's like, I want to make a book. And it was like the hardest things I ever did in my life. Like making a book is a lot of work, a lot of decision. I was lucky to work with Daylight Publication, had the support, had someone help me with designing. When I made the book, I knew that I wanted to work with a writer. So I reached out to someone I follow on Instagram, but I really admire her. And I was like, hey, would you like to collaborate with me in this book? But there's no money. We're not making money, but we're making an object. And it was really beautiful process, because what she did is she went back to some of these women who I took their pictures 4 years ago. talked to them and created this essay that was like a snapshot of their life. And she played with the time in a different, beautiful like way. And one of the hardest things that for me was the cover. I didn't know how, and the cover was like really important for me. And I wanted to play with the like cliche and the, how people always like think of Middle East about like something, classic. So I took the thobe, which is a dress that women wear on top of their outfits in weddings to dance. There's certain dance that you needed to, like the Samri dance, and I wanted the book to be inspired by these very traditional outfits. And I also collaborated with calligraphy from Kuwait and literally called him, like, hey, would you like to collaborate? And he asked me, okay, what's your deadline? It's like, yesterday. Would you still be interested? And he was there, and he did like beautiful work. And I wanted the book to be also an object where you can, keep it, hold it there as like stand. And I know I'm not supposed to be here, but like if you notice, like we had like also like, so we make it in a way that it's like all closed. And in order to go inside, you need to open, like kind of opening the window and go inside these private spaces. 2019 was like really beautiful. I had a lot of book signing, traveling, and after like 6 years being here, doing a lot of things, finally I got my reward. But then I figured out that I need to go home. I felt like my work speaks to my community. I wanted to talk to the other women and men in my country. I wanted to challenge them, and there's something like I need to go back home. And I just decided to do it while I had everything here, and I was like, okay, let's go there. And I went like a couple of months before Corona. So that was a good decision, because in my country things were like more controlled, and after 2 years, actually last May, I had my first solo exhibition in my own country. And I was really excited about it, but also nervous, because the topic that I'm talking about is a bit taboo. In my country, there is censorships, and it's happened a couple of times that when an artist like kind of push the limit, they will shut down the exhibition. So for my exhibition, I worked with my dear friend. I wanted to work with someone that I really know, and he understands my work. And we wanted to create it in a way that the people who disagree with me will look at the work. I wanted to do it in a way that it will last. And actually, it was supposed to be 6 weeks, but the show stayed for 3 months. So we did a good job, I think. And yeah, how to work within a land that censors you, with a land that even the censorship is not clear. Like there is no rules like to I mean, of course, nudity, it's like, don't do it. So I also like, my work also kind of start to shift into textile, natural dye. I feel like because the things I want to talk about is like very, working with sensors and stuff, my work also changed. I kind of stopped taking pictures since I moved to Kuwait. And the pictures that I took, it's mostly documentation of my textile work. That we'll talk about later. So the way how we did it is we built this like cube there. And it's also the first time that I had my work, like the photography and the textile, all in one space. And it's the first time I see my work all as collective that tell the same thing, because each project is a response to a situation, but apparently I'm talking about the same topic. So we start with the self-portraits, the body as a landscape, and then we go into the back end where we are talking about the female sexuality. So I made this piece, the one on the left, here, and then let me show you the translation, if you can read that. So what happened is I did this huge piece that took me, I don't know, 60 hours just to do it. And when I was done and I looked at it, I was like, oh, I can't show this in Kuwait. And it was like, I was like really making it like, okay, I want to take it and do it there. And then I was like, I can't show it. And I was like super pissed off. And then I decided to censor myself. So instead of them censoring me, I'm censoring myself. But then I'm also like, be like a little bit playful. So what I did is after I finished it, I put the threads all the way there. But then if you're there, you can just sneak and see what it is. And it's also like kind of the things that they do, like if it's a magazine and if a woman showing some Cleveland, so there's just a person with a marker, just like deciding what to show or not. And the work, you can see how it was just a fabric, but then when I moved back home, it's moved to like a tapestry. And I think it's because of like the way how people use sometimes art, especially like as a decorative element, and I wanted to challenge the idea of these things that we have like in our walls, and how can I create something that might look something very beautiful and pinkish, but then if you go and read it, it's very intense. We played also a lot with abstraction, less text, more of hint on everything. And then in the same part, like we had like these two pieces, so we kept them hidden. They're like two natural dye. There's vulvas, and then I had this slip with the anatomy of the female. You will notice that I will be using a lot of scientific drawing because, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And we decided to have this huge mirror. So everybody stand there will be kind of wearing this slip. And if you're a man standing there, what's the difference between me and you? It's this part. That's why you have more freedom and I have more constructions. There's a lot of things just because one organ. And the show will goes into my work, I Panic, and that talks mostly about my mental health, and then ended up with, this is like my favorite works, like the first work I did, 2013, where I figured out that, okay, I'm an artist. I'm making an artwork. And then when you're almost done, you will have this small black cube. And then you will go to the domestic space. And in this place, I created this installation. And, you know, there was some sort of food, like kind of the family was there. They were eating, they just like cleaning the table. But the stuff that they are saying to each other, it's there. So in each one, I collected, so these are the translation. So I collected all the saying that being said in generation in the Middle East, sadly from a grandma to her daughter to her granddaughter. It's like kind of favoring male to female, how a woman sometimes can abuse and control her own daughter because she wants the man to be happy. And I let the food there and the flower the whole show. I wanted also to add the element of time and how the things that usually being said stay with you in your body. And the most important thing is what we say to each other inside the house. Yeah. And since I was there, I think the conversation is different there. And I guess I was like thinking a lot about how when women bleed, the whole society is disturbed. So when the woman gets her period and she's in like social gathering, no one want to talk, like they don't want to hear about your period. They just get discussed and there's like just oversharing. And when the woman stopped bleeding, when she reached her menopause, they think of her as like, okay, that's it, you're done. While basically what happened to the woman is she can like give birth to a baby, but her sexuality and her desire is still there. Basically, the men are the one their sexuality goes down after a certain age. And when the woman doesn't bleed in her first night when she got married, sometimes she got killed. And sadly, we still have this law like honor killing in Kuwait, that certain communities are still can get away with it. They can kill, a man can kill his daughter, his wife, his mom, and he can get like 3 years sentence. And yeah, so I will be talking about different projects. So in this work, I was trying to talk about period. I was thinking mostly first of like creating photograph, and I looked a lot about so many references and what people are doing. But I thought of like, no, I wanted to go with the threads. Like there's something very elegant and very soft and beautiful. There is always like in all societies, like there is this kind of shame about it. But like no one told me that period is like a cycle, like the cycle of flowers and seasons. And so I created this pans, and here, like again, the photography is documentation of the work. And then I created the period blanket. I thought of like when I get my period, I just like wanted to have something cozy, and and it has 2 parts, as you can see. So this part mostly like the 4th circle of the periods, and the big question is like why we are ashamed of the period. And I realized like I was like kind of didn't know everything. Like it was also like shame on me, but like some information I didn't know. And I created this performance. So sometimes the medium changed, but then photography is always there. And the last things that I would like to talk about is my new work, which I never shown anybody. It's the Hyman book. I will keep it there. You can check it out later. So this is a natural dye book, the threads and everything. And it's still sad that no one talk about like the myth of the hymen. There's a lot of gyno in a lot of countries. They just don't want to talk about it. So what I did is I created this book with different shapes. And if you can notice, like, then there is like this kind of made up language, since we are working with censorship. So I was thinking, okay, instead of writing the name, I just invented a language, and this is the code. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, it's just a book with shapes and words. Yeah, so, I mean, so this is like work in progress. Like, I'm still like tapping onto the same topics in a different ways. I mean, there's the menopause, but like, I was like, maybe I should just wait. I'm 45, turning 46. I don't know when this will hit me, but I feel like it will be more valuable once I experience it. So I know what to do with it. And like going back to the first question that I said about space, I noticed that it's harder for me to make work in my country. It's just, I don't feel safe, and I feel always being seen, even if I'm not seen. And what I'm trying to do now is, like last year, I went to art residence. So I'm trying to be away in between where I can make the work, while in Kuwait, I reflect and write more. Maybe with time, things will change. There's things I also wanted to talk about more about, but again, since this is being recorded, so I feel like it's safer not to talk about it. But yeah, a lot of time the work that I do is intense, so it messes with me sometimes. But there's something beautiful at the end of each project that I do that I think it's very rewarding. And thank you all. And
Yeah, you know, it strikes me, it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing, where you're doing it, and in the way that you're doing it. You know, all of these mediums really using languages of subversion in order to get your messages across. So I wonder, as far as the reception for your work within Kuwait, have you received, you know, pushback? Has there been active censorship or, you know, attempts to, you know, take down your work?
no, so I know, so one thing is like the younger generations, they love my work. Like I think I have more audience like 20s, like 18, 25, 30s. They really like it. I think the problem is with my generation and older. Like for my exhibition, my mom didn't come to my show. And I told her, like, hey, would you like to come and see it? And it was like, are you putting one of your nude pictures? And this is nude from my mom. I was like, yeah, these pictures will be there. Yeah, these are the nude pictures that my mom referring to. And then I tried to just check with her, like, just come and see it. And she was like, yeah, I don't like feminists, and I don't like strong women. And then I laughed at her. I was like, it's funny, because you are my biggest feminist. I would never did all that without your support. Like coming here, traveling alone, being an artist, speaking up. No one, like from my extended family or my brother, no one could say anything because she agreed on it. And she's like a very wise woman. Everybody respects her. It's like, you're a feminist, but okay, it's fine.
She sounds like a strong woman.
Oh, she is. She is. But she made sure, like my sister and one of my brother, to come to the show. I mean, for me, my dog was there, and that's my whole family. Yeah.
Okay. Well, second question. You mentioned briefly before the lecture, we were talking about your interest in helping to support and build the community of artists within Kuwait by, doing some programming. And if you could talk a little bit about that, I think that would be great.
Yeah. So I do have like a studio there, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out different things. I'm trying to help like LGBT community. I have a lot of friends. So we are thinking to create some sort of like private talks about queer artists. And we are also trying to work on like creating some talks about zines and books, an artist book. It's hard while you do your own art and you're trying to figure out to financially support yourself, but I feel it's very rewarding because also like a lot of my community is like I think 60% or more are below 20. So we have a lot of kids and young, and I do have faith on them to change the country. Yeah.
I have so many more questions, but we will have to talk afterwards. Anyone else in the audience, please, now's your chance to dialogue with Maha here. I'm sure there's plenty of questions. Yes.
Hi. I would love to see the portraits that you did that you can't show. But
Yeah.
To go along with that, you mentioned you were shooting with a Hasselblad, a square format. Were you shooting film? Were you shooting digital? Film?
Yeah, most of my work is film,
Okay.
not digital.
Still would love to see the portraits. See,
Yeah.
I find those very interesting.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
they're abstract
Let me see
from this point of view.
if there is an internet here. Yeah, these are my naked photos. The naked photos that my mom was upset about. Well, I told her like it was like my female friends photographed me, and it was like wearing my top, but yeah.
What does that symbolize?
So this work called Undisclosed, and I think so this work is mostly about like the conflict that I used to have. You're a good girl, you need always to do these shots, like they're very hard because I need to keep object in my face and sit still. The one above, like I kind of built it around my face. So I had like I think 3 panic attacks because it's like wires and stuff. And it's mostly about the inner struggle that you have, but you don't show it. You're trying to fit in. You're trying to. I mean, I'm from a small community, and there's certain things about women supposed to be like lower your voice, be sweet, don't speak up, and I was trying to fit that. So that one is like more mirror things reflecting on you, but I'm always like looking at there.
So these are a series of self-portraits
Yeah.
with a form of creative mask, which you're communicating to the viewer.
Yeah.
Those are terrific.
Thank you.
How large were the prints?
These are 50 centimeter by 50 by 50 centimeter. I forgot so many inches. It's 25 inches. It's less big.
Okay.
Like almost like real size.
I'm just going to ask one more.
Sure.
Do you have access to a lab in Kuwait? Or do you have a problem with that?
When I moved there, yes. Now we have to like darkroom labs, but before that there was nothing. But like for my exhibition, I needed to ship, like I did it in London. We don't have enough of like digital printing. There's, yeah. So it's usually either I will do it in the digital, I will do it in Emirates, but the darkroom, I needed to do it abroad.
Other questions?
Thanks. I also have so many questions, and I'm just really excited. The one that I'll pose is about the Hyman book. I noticed a few recurring symbols or characters, and I don't want you to necessarily reveal what the content is exactly, but is it? Can you share a little bit about what the language is? What it's saying?
So basically, in each page you can see a different type of a hymen, and this is the name of that hymen. Yeah, that's the name. Because there is the one which is like, doesn't bleed, and that's where I ended. And I wanted to write the name. I was like in between, do I write the name, not to write the name? But then I'm just like playing with the censorship and how can I make something that kind of push the viewer to be curious and trying to figure out what is this about. So I just tried to create more clue on that.
Well, I have to say it's just so refreshing how fluid you are between these mediums, and I'm curious about your artistic influences outside of photography as well. I mean, are you looking at contemporary artists within Kuwait or Europe, or who are some people that you're interested in these days?
To be honest with you, like since I moved back, I've been learning more about like Arab artists, and I'm trying to figure out the conversation, the mediums, and the way how they are talking about, and it's like very beautiful to see how people talk and use different kind of mediums. Like for me, for example, the natural dye, I went to a residency in Kuwait, and that's how, like, it's a sado, so it's more about weaving. And this is how I figured out natural dye. And actually, it helped me through COVID, because I was stuck in the house. And I was just like, okay, I needed to work with my hand. And it was mostly self-taught online, and yeah, and practice.
Anybody else?
Did you ever think about moving out of Kuwait if it's easier to practice art without having to worry about the censorship, or it's more, to you, it's more like that's the point? I'm trying to share this art in a country where it's censored, and I want to share that.
Well, first of all, like I thought of that, but like, I mean, the world is being super crazy now about immigrants and visas, and there's a lot of racism, and people like don't want people to move to their countries in a way. So I'm thinking about it, but I'm also like, where do I want to go, and how? I'm in a place now where I'm trying to learn how to be, and I'm trying to be more present and see where the world will take me. Because finding a new land, you need to have money, you need to figure out visa situations, and yeah. So what I'm doing right now is try to apply for residencies, try to figure out a system where I can be in between. So there's a lot of beautiful things in my country, and I'm trying also to connect with my family. Yeah, it's just ongoing question. Thank you.
Your work is beautiful, and I'm just wondering, with the Hyman book, I gather that that's one of a kind.
Yes.
Will you consider reproducing it?
I don't know. I don't know. The Hyman and the period, I feel like they're just a start of something that I'm working on. That will include some photography too. Yeah. I don't think so, but I don't know. Yeah.
It's very special.
Well, guys, last chance. Yes, great. I don't want this one to end, actually.
Hello. I'm sorry I came a little bit late. So if you already answered this, I apologize. But thinking about the artist and the woman that you were 4 years ago in New York City before COVID, and the artist you are today, how would, if you were to both meet each other in the street today, what would you say to each other?
Good job, Maha. It's a journey. Yeah, and I think I would say, like, be kinder. That's a practice that I'm trying to do these days. That I need to acknowledge what I did, because I will go into phases where I just make, and I don't celebrate what I did. And yeah, in February I had like burnout, and it was like really tough. But yeah, I think I salute Maha for what she did, because there has never been someone with her in this journey. And yeah.
Good job, Maha. We salute you. This has been so awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.